Talk. This is a very interactive session. I do like to be responsive to the different things that you're sharing and that you want to know about. And so feel free. There will be moments on the screen where you'll see a keyboard to type. If you feel very brave and you want to open up and use your voice or be on camera, you can do that as well. I just ask that you raise your hand so that way I know that, oh, let me like unmute your line. We can keep the flow. I do try to respect everyone's time and keep these sessions to 20 minutes or less, so you get on with the rest of your busy day. So by the end of today's sessions, our goal is number one, that we'll know why. What are some of the reasons that children don't like to read or they struggle to read? It's not just enough to know why. The reason that you came today is for some solutions. And so I'll share with you a couple of strategies on how you can support your child. You also get a chance to share with one another if you have some other strategies that work for you too. So before we get started, one of the questions I like to begin Tuesday's talk session with, and this helps me just to be responsive again to make sure that I am meeting your needs, is what motivated you to join today's session? So be sure to type that in the chat there. So that way, if there's something particular that you're looking for, I can try to ensure that I address it before the end of today's broadcast. While you're kind of typing your chats there, I'll tell you, why did I even start Tuesday Talk? So for me, I started out my career in information technology, working in corporate America, and then I switched into the world of education. Those are two totally different worlds. And also, like I went from working with adults to working with kids, and then later in education, working with adults who are in education. And what I found is that even though I've worked with a wide variety of ages and in very, very different career paths, one of the things that I found that's very common is that everyone can learn from someone else. Everyone needs a teacher. Everyone needs a coach. There's always something to learn. You're never too old or too young. You're never too old or too young to learn from someone else as well. So I really wanted us to bring together a forum where it's not about like, oh, this person has this credential, this person has that credential, but for us to kind of just have a fun and casual conversation about things that have happened in life, just fun, right? Like we'll look at like short video clips and things, apply them to what has happened in our life, and then pull an educational principle out of it that you can use in today. Like as soon as we finish today's session, it's something you'll be able to implement, something simple. All right, so that's why I started these sessions. And the reason that we have joined today's session is, okay, to get some help with a struggling reader. Bravo. So I hope that I'll be able to share a tip with you today and we can share some tips with one another. So you may have saw, if you came to this session today, you may have saw like a short ad that we had. And there were some children dancing. They were actually dancing to the song Muse's Melody. The reason that song was even created in the first place is we wanted a way for kids to really have fun, engage, do what they do naturally, which is like have fun, dance to a good beat, but at the same time, they're learning something while they're dancing. And just for it to be something very, very natural and fun for them to do. That song is actually part of our reading program as well. But if you didn't see it, let me quickly show it to you because there's a learning principle, one of the principles that we'll talk about today with how do children become motivated readers. And here's one of the reasons, and well, one of the ways, and let me show you quickly. Let me share this out. Sorry, guys. Technical. Try that again.
This is the way we learn to read. Learn to read. Learn to read. This is the way we learn to read. Sing along with me.
All right, so what you might have noticed while you were watching those children is that little kids were looking up to the older children, right? So the younger ones always look to the one who was a little bit older. Parts during the song, they're looking like, what are they doing? And then they would come back and the child would do, it's so cute. The child would do the same thing that they saw the older child doing. And that's because it is a natural human instinct that we are watching our surroundings, right? I guess you can almost say like we're sheep, bah, bah. You're kind of following the flock. So if you see the flock is doing something and you're influenced by the flock, it's something that you'll model and do too. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, you're not sure, you're like, I guess I should be doing this too. So you try it. So I want you to think about, there's an opportunity for you to reflect here. All right, and share in the chat. So remember, this is a time that I really encourage you guys to share and we can learn from one another. But really think about a time, what is something that you've done that a child copied, but you never taught them to do it? It wasn't something that you sat down and been like, hey, today I'll teach you how to do this. But later on you said, hey, where did you pick that up from? All right, so share it in the chat. While you're typing your response, I'll give an example of one from my end. All right. So I used to mentor a group of middle school children. And actually, I got to see one of the kids I used to mentor really recently and stuff. It's always so refreshing. Like when you've worked with kids for a long time and then you're like, oh, like you're older now. Oh my goodness. Like you're tall, big, you have deep voice and stuff now. It's really neat. But I used to mentor a group of middle schoolers. And they were spearheading, like putting together like this idea of how they could really run like a kindness campaign at their school, because they really wanted to combat like bullying. It was something very passionate to them. So I really was kind of helping guide them and like, how could you do that? So whenever we had meetings, I would send out a meeting reminder like, hey guys, remember today we're meeting. These are the things you need to bring and have ready, what we'll talk about. Now, because I have a professional business email address, at the bottom of my email, there would be my email signature. So it has my first name, my last name, phone number, email, and then it even has like the slogan, the company slogan at the bottom too, right? So I'm sending out these emails. This goes on maybe 2 or 3 weeks that the kids get these messages from me. And then I noticed it was the neatest thing. I was like, wow. So one of the children replies back to everyone. It was a short reply that he did. It was just like, okay, looking forward to today's meeting. But what he did at the bottom of his message, looking forward to today's meeting, he put his first name, his last name, his phone number, and then it said, kindness is cool, kids. Like he did his own slogan down there. And this is nothing that I ever taught them. Never to sit down and say, hey, when you have a professional business email, you put a signature at the bottom, you know, and it looks very professional. But this kid, just by observing that, oh, every time she sends this email, it has this at the bottom. You know what? I want my email to look like that too. And so to me, it just really spoke to the volume of children they do learn by what we tell them, but they also learn so much just by watching. The neatest thing ever. Okay, so let's check out in the chat. What did you tell us? Something that you did that a child copied that you never taught them. Yeah, you didn't think you were teaching them that, but they picked up like your vocabulary. So they were saying some things that you're like, oh wait, don't say that. And the kid was looking like, you say this. Yeah, you're right. Children do pick up these different things that we do as well. So yeah, there are so many things that happen and you don't realize that children are watching and they will absolutely model what you do naturally. They may not fully understand it. And that kind of brings us to our second point, okay? So because children don't always understand the world that's around them, sometimes they get things a little bit wrong or it's not quite right. Here's a short video. Maybe you saw this on TikTok. If you didn't see it, it's really cute. This kid has some really funny videos. It's called Keep Up with Jacob. So check out Keep Up with Jacob on TikTok if you haven't seen it before, but sometimes kids have these minor misconceptions about the world around them. So they've watched or they've heard something that's slightly off. So take a look at this one.
Window. What? There is a window.
No.
The house.
That's window. Ruh.
So you even saw the expression on that boy's face when he's sitting here pointing like, R is for a window. Mom's like, no. He's like, it's a window in the house, right? So he's like, come on, get with the program, Mom. So the mom like realized like, wait, my son has a misconception here. He thinks that it's saying window this whole time, right? She thought that he's been saying window, but he's been here, that's what he's been hearing and associating it with the letter R. She's no, it's window. This is but give me something that starts with It's really cute. All right. And so what are some of the reasons that children struggle or are disinterested in reading is number one, they need a strong model. If they're not seeing people consistently read, like people who they look up to, they don't find a lot of value in that, right? They even need to hear it too. They need to hear what fluent reading sounds like. If they don't hear it, then they're not really sure. Like, I see people doing this, but I don't know. Am I a good reader? Am I not a good reader? Do I sound like what they sound like? Like you gave a really good example in the chat, even though it was something that you didn't want your child to pick up as a language that you didn't, that again, they mimic based on what they hear. So they need a really strong model. So sometimes that's why they're not interested, because maybe they haven't had that modeled well enough for them. Number two, another reason that they struggle sometimes is they don't receive that corrective feedback. Okay, so they're going through life and maybe it was something that a teacher or a role model or someone, they didn't notice that the child was making a minor error, or maybe they thought it was cute, like, oh, they'll outgrow it. But again, if they don't receive that reflective feedback, even if it's something where we kind of laugh, sometimes we laugh at kids when they do something wrong, like that was funny. But we don't go back and correct it, they get the wrong message with that. Because again, children are still in the stage in life where they're trying to understand and make sense of the world that they're in. So they have to receive corrective feedback. And that's sometimes what causes these reading struggles. I've seen it so much throughout my work with children, and even within my consultancy, my clients share, my consultants share what they work with some of the clients, that, man, we have this child here, and can you believe that the reason that he's struggling with his reading is because he hasn't mastered the vowel sounds yet, or he still has this one letter that he's been saying wrong this whole time. It's like, yep, you fixed that. And then suddenly it's like, oh, wait, this is so much easier for me to read, and spelling as well. Like it helps a lot with like our struggling spellers too, but you got to get that corrective feedback. All right. You don't need me to give you a lecture though about why, which, all right, I've shared with you the whys behind it, 2 reasons. But what you're really here for is, how can we help? What can you do with something simple that you can implement right now, today, as soon as this call is over, and go and support these children? Like, oh, okay, with something quick that I can add into my routine to help with that. So let me give you a few ideas, but not only do I want to give you a few ideas, I want you guys to share what are some things that have worked for you too. So I have teachers who may be on the line, parents, babysitters, nannies, caregivers, whatever the case may be. You've worked with struggling readers or people who are disinterested in reading. What are some things that have worked for you? So share that again in the comment, because this is a community where we can learn from one another. Maybe you have something that I don't share today, because again, I only got 20 minutes. I can only share a couple quick things. But share those things in the chat down there, because it's really useful for people when they're going through, they're searching for a topic of how can I get help with my struggling reader. They can go through and read those comments. So, oh yeah, they shared this in the video, but this was a good idea too. I want to try that too. Okay, so you guys all, like, this is a learning community where we learn from one another. Please share that. All right. But here's some things that I have for you that you can try today. So number one, when we said that they have to have a good model for them to let you, for them to see you read, I bet you that if you're on this call today, or if you're listening to the rebroadcast, that you have had children have cereal for breakfast in the morning, right? Now, I know that the morning can be a rush time. People are getting ready for work. The children are getting ready for school. But if you take just that extra 30 seconds, whatever the case may be, after the children have poured their cereal, or if you've poured it for them, if you take a minute and look at the box, you don't even have to read it for real. You can pretend read. But if you want to read it, you can. But you can just make a comment like, oh, that was interesting to read. It said that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and sit the box back down, right? That was super duper quick. So what your child will learn from that, especially if you have your young readers there, they learn that cereal is not just for eating. And if you have like the kitty cereals, it's not just for finding the toy inside of the box too. But B, there's something on the back of this box. And every time I see the back of this box, daddy, mommy, grandma, babysitter, whoever it is, they're looking at something on the back. You'll notice during your breakfast routine, again, try it for like a couple weeks, you will notice that this kid, even if it's not one of those fun cereals that have the cartoons in the back, they're going to be looking at the back of the cereal box. They're going to be back there looking, because they're modeling what they have seen you do. They're like, oh, the grown-ups do this, I'm going to do what the grown-ups do. Another strategy that you can use right away, implement this. So do you go through the drive-through? Maybe for breakfast, maybe you need to pick the kids up early from school because they have a dentist or doctor's appointment. So you have to take them somewhere quick for lunch. Maybe you're just grabbing some fast dinner, whatever the case may be. Have you ever gone through a fast food drive-through? Okay, I'll tell you a very funny story from when I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid, me and my brothers and sisters, we would get super excited about going to McDonald's. Like, yeah, we're going to McDonald's. And my mom would give us the option before we even got to McDonald's. She'd say, what do you want? What do you want when we get there? You want chicken nuggets or do you want cheeseburger? And what do you want to drink? You want the high C or you want like the Coca-Cola? And so we already knew before we pulled up at McDonald's, like, okay, these were the options. Now, when I became a reader, I don't know exactly like what age it was, but I remember we pulled up and I was looking because we were sitting in the line and there's a big menu over there. And I'm looking and I'm going, what? And so I just said from out the back seat, like, I want the McRib. And my mom was like, what? What do you know about the McRib? Well, I tell you what, you better not waste my McRib money. You better eat the McRib if I get you the McRib. But for me, I felt like such a big kid that day. Like, oh yeah, I'm like the grownups. I got to pick something else. My brothers and sisters, they only got the chicken nuggets or they got the cheeseburger, but I got to try something different that day because I could read the menu. Now, of course, there are reasons sometimes that you may only give your kids those options because we're working in a certain budget, or you don't want them to pick something that they're not going to enjoy and they've wasted the money, whatever the case may be. So you may still want to only give them those couple of options, but when you're pulling up to that drive-through menu, if you have non-readers and it encourages them to want to read more, even if you just pause for a second, you already know what you want to order. But if you pause when the person asks, can I take your order? And be like, 1 second, please. Let me look at the menu. And then like, let the kids hear you. Okay, do I want this? Or it says that. Let them hear you thinking through the menu and then quickly say, okay, we know what we want today. I want this. And I also need, and say what the children want, right? Your kids will pick it up like, wait a minute. How does daddy, mommy, whoever, how do they get to pick something else? How did they know that? All right, I know that there's something every time we pull up to this place, they're looking over there. Maybe they're picking something different. And so again, you'll start seeing the children and they'll ask you, they'll say like, I want what you want. Or like, no, I don't want that one. I want this one. But it's because they want to be like the grown-ups. So if they see you reading, it's a skill that they're going to want to learn to read because they want to know what else can they pick from there. So try it when you go through a drive-through. Last but not least, another strategy that you can use, especially for our young readers, our early learners who are still learning reading skills. So you've seen children all the time. They love to play make-believe, right? And so you will see them doing two things when they have a phone and they're playing make-believe, whether they're playing on your phone or a toy phone, right? They're doing this. Yeah, 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 yes. So they're having their own little pretend conversations. You'll also see them doing this. Or playing on an app if they have your phone. Yes, very rarely. Very, very rarely when I've seen children play pretend with phones before or use their parents' phone do I see them do this. Oh yeah. Mm, mm. Right? And that looks very different where you're pausing and you're just looking at one screen for a second because you're reading something. And so it could be very, very simple for you to, again, get the children to model this. And this is something that they want to do, that they see you reading. Or even if you have like Kindle on your phone, or Amazon has like a really nice Amazon Kids, I think it's called Amazon Kids Plus app, something like this is called. But you can get like different storybooks and things, right? It's not too expensive. It's just like a couple dollars a month. I subscribe to it and use it with some of the children clients that we use sometimes because they have really neat and engaging books in there that kids enjoy with their favorite characters. But if the children even get into the habit of like where they sit down with you, they can listen to you read a story or they read a story. Again, that's some of what they'll want to use a phone for. And sometimes what I find with parent clients, they have this struggle with the children that all they want to do is play the app. It's too much screen time. And so I totally get that. But if they see you modeling that you can do something else than just play on this game all the time, you can also read, and this is something enjoyable. It's something that people do. You can get some interesting information. They'll start modeling this, and that's what they'll ask for too. Like, hey, can we read the story? Or you're going to see them pretending that they're reading something there. So it's a really good modeling skill. Last but not least is make sure that you are correcting those misconceptions. So again, maybe you're not real sure, like, oh, well, I didn't know that they were mispronouncing this, or oh, I thought it was cute. So you might think it was a small thing, right, that they'll outgrow. That's sometimes what happens, like, oh, they'll outgrow it, they'll get it by the end of the year, they'll keep hearing it, whatever the case may be. But you have to make sure that you stop and correct them. And I'll show you why. I'm going to show you the second half of this video with Jacob, but I'm going to show you why. Let me show you. It speaks so much. It's very powerful.
R.
But is for window.
No.
How about we just say that?
No, you can't just say that.
Okay, and so notice that Jacob, after he was corrected by his mother, that it's her, and then he's like, her is for Rindo. Like, this is what I know. Come on, just go with my program. So again, children are making sense of the world around them. And so when they have a thought in their mind, they're very firm. So that's why he's like, let's just say it is, it's fine. And she has to explain to him, like, no, you can't just make up what you want it to be. It goes with something else. So it's really important that they get those explanations, because children, you know it. You know how kids are. They can be very like, they know everything. But when you take the time to actually correct those misconceptions, like, actually you pronounce it like this, or actually this word, you read it like that. When you take a moment to do that, it helps them out so much, tremendously, especially when they get older, because otherwise they become very firm that, that's what I learned when I was young. What do you mean it's wrong? And they become a little bit more, I don't want to say defiant, but just very firm in something that's wrong. And it's natural. It's a natural instinct, because again, they've made sense of it in their world and no one's corrected it for them. So make sure you're correcting misconceptions.
R.
All right, you guys. So that is actually the end of our time for our Tuesday talk session. We have exhausted our 20 minutes for today. Do I have any questions or comments that you would like to share in the chat today? Anything that I can respond to before we go and call it a day, wrap it up? I do hope that this session was helpful for you. If you have ideas of things that you want me to talk about or anything like that, make sure that you put that in the chat as well, because then as I prepare for our next session, that again, I'll look for videos, cute things that are very relevant, and just naturally that you see your kids do all the time, that we can put some learning principles towards, okay? So if today was really helpful for you today, please talk about Tuesday. You can like, comment, share on our social media channels about, hey, you know what, this was really helpful. You should definitely check out like the Tuesday post. You can also write us a review on Facebook or Instagram. So that also helps other people to know, like, oh yeah, Tuesday, because we'll post on there like, hey, Tuesday session, here's what we're talking about. So let people know that it's something like, oh yeah, pay attention to this one when they post about that. Maybe this is a good one to check out. And then please invite a friend to sign up and join next time. These live sessions are a lot of fun when I have people who are online, responsive, and you're kind of sharing your comments and stuff. They're a little bit more interactive. And so be sure to invite someone next time as well too. Okay, so without further ado, if you need any more support with reading or anything else that you need, feel free to contact me personally. My personal email website out there is there, nikailcoble.com. You can also go through my company and you will be paired. Can I speak today? You will be paired with like a wonderful consultant as well to meet your needs. You can go to maryshome.org, your educational support needs. Okay, so have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. See you later. Bye. Thanks so much for joining. See ya.